Good day, everybody. It's about noon on November 9th, 2023. I am in Minsk, of course, Minsk. Okay, I'll get right into some news here. It's a little bit raining. It's not really so cold. Actually, I don't need this coat, but it's getting close. Okay, I'll tell you first. I'll show you some of these buildings here. These are pre-World War II that survived in World War II. So this is maybe early Stalinist buildings, or maybe before Stalin, just so you can see. Some kind of a government building. Maybe, I don't know if all of these are. I don't know. I'll tell you what, some look like apartments, but I'm not sure. Okay. On Russian television recently, I guess within the last day or two, they had a program talking about the United Nations against the United States somehow, at least maybe on a couple issues. And it was about a program of the decades-long embargo of the United States on Cuba. And it seems like a lot of the United Nations are all voting against that embargo. You know, I was thinking they would already a long time ago. But, you know, there's a big history of what happened there. A lot of exploitation of Cuba. And then, of course, everybody looked on at Castro and such people as saviors, of course, because there was a lot of, you know, I lived in the Caribbean, so I heard about a lot of the things that the United States was doing there, the rich people, you know, the big investors supposedly getting away with a lot of things that are completely illegal in the United States. But, you know, that's beside the point. It's just that, I don't know, for some odd reason, they thought that this is important enough to mention that on Russian TV now. So maybe it's gaining some weight. I don't know. And looking at this stuff going on in Gaza, it's kind of a, I don't know, I wouldn't necessarily call it a genocide. It's beyond any shadow of a doubt, it's ethnic cleansing. It's just as much ethnic cleansing as what the Ukrainians are doing. And just like what Adolf Hitler was doing. A lot of the information, of course, from World War II was a lot of fake information as well. You know, they way overdid the numbers. Of course, 6 million Jews. I'll tell you what, there were almost certainly well over 1 million Jews that were killed in World War II, but not in Germany. Not anywhere near that in Germany. I believe Red Cross records, official Red Cross records. And people have seen them. There's hundreds and hundreds of witnesses of these. And of course they went around to whatever concentration camps they had and all. And I guess the number was around 175,000 people that died in those concentration camps. And a lot of people are wondering if that was from typhus and this cyclone B, the chemical that they found there. You know, that was to, I guess, delouse, maybe destroy mattresses and things. And of course, people did die. A lot of people died in those concentration camps. But then, I don't know. A lot. I shouldn't get into that because a lot of people, they either will be far over on the one side or far over on the other side from what I've said. And I'll tell you what, a lot of Jews were killed in Eastern Europe, and there's no doubt about that. They massacred a lot of Jews, the Banderites in Ukraine and the Banderites in Belarus and in Poland. And Czech people were massacred, Jews, just because they were Jew. It's not as bad in Germany as they say, but of course there was a lot of Jews killed, you know, particularly because they were Jewish. So just so you know that. So I'm not trying to give you any fake information and making you think that I hate Jews or anti-Jew or what some people call anti-Semite, but a lot of people are saying that the biggest anti-Semites in the world are the Israelis because the Palestinians are known as Semitic people. In fact, a lot of people would say those Jews, Judaism is a religion, and those Jews that are in Israel are not Semitic people at all. A lot of them say the Ashkenazi, and you know, I I don't know much about this stuff. I don't really care so much. It doesn't really affect me. I'll just put out what I heard, and I don't know. What a lot of you may know, may not know, and of course I wasn't there in history. I don't live in those places. I don't know. I'm just saying what some people are saying, giving you their story, and I'm not going to make any judgment and say what's true and what's not true. Even what happened in World War II, but even though there is no information that 6 million Jews were, killed by the Germans, it's a lot of the Jews that were killed in, say, Belarus here, and Ukraine, and those people were done maybe at the supervision of Germans, but so maybe you could say they were German, but it's I think the number is far, far below 6 million, and I am sure after you hear how many died here, even in Belarus, that the number is certainly over 1 million, maybe over 2 million. I don't know. I have better things to do than go around and try to keep a tally score. I just know that they were crimes. And it's every bit just as much of a crime as what's going on in Israel right now, or Gaza, I should say. So we'll get more into that as everybody is doing right now. Everybody's going over what's going on in Gaza. The ones who were doing the killing in Germany were, of course, the left. And everybody says, wait a minute, that's the right. It was ethnic cleansing by the left. And of course, the left, people on the left are the ones, of course, that hate other people. It's not really the people on the right. We're kind of like, so wait a minute, Hitler was extreme right. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Well, I thought the left, they always called the left the socialists. Hitler's party was the National Socialist Party, which I guess makes him left. Well, you see what's going on with these labels here. But I could make a far, far, far better argument by telling you that all of this killing and hatred is all done from the left. It's not done from the right. It's very easy, very, very easy to prove all that. And I could prove to you very easily that the people on the right are the more humanitarian people. If you just want to put labels on things, it's not very difficult. Look at Donald Trump and their people, and compare that to these crazy, wild-eyed, blue-haired people that want to massacre people in Gaza right now. They're all the leftist people. So, but then again, there's a lot of these leftist people that are also on the Palestine side, so, wanting to preserve human life. But just generally speaking is what I'm getting at. So, actually the point I'm trying to make is it's no use calling somebody left and somebody right, because it doesn't mean anything. It's just a label, and you're going to be left wondering, well, what is left and what is right? And if you are in that position, don't worry about it, because you're exactly right. But I always associate the left as those people who believe they're better than everybody else. They are more privileged. They deserve more privileges, and anything like that. And of course, one of the things that the left say is they're God's chosen people. They're the master race. They're the indispensable, or as Obama said, wait a minute, Obama is the left, of course. He said that the Americans are the exceptional people. So that fits right in with what I'm saying. That's why I said I can make a very powerful argument to tell you that it's the left that are these people, the ones that think they're better than everybody else. And they're the ones that have a tendency to go around and want to slaughter people. So no more to be said about that one, I guess. This looks interesting, this kind of view. Not this way, that's an old Soviet building, obviously. And look at this. It's like, looks sort of like pre-Soviet, but it's probably early Soviet. It looks like I'm back in 1950 with the buildings and all that right here. Very fascinating. Actually, I like this. Even if I'm not crazy about white brick, this one looks pretty good because they're older. This building right here. Okay. Yeah, but the left You know, Cuba. I started out talking about Cuba, and I'll just kind of stay on that a little bit. You know, one good thing about Obama, one of the very few good things that he did, you know, Obama, of course, was the war president. He started more wars than any president in my lifetime. But wait, no, he's supposed to be called the peace president. But how does a peace president start all these wars and keep all the old wars going? I don't know, figure that one out. But one of the good things that Obama did was he started easing up this blockade of Cuba. And one of the good guys, who in some ways is the good guy, is Donald Trump. He didn't start any new wars, but he again increased the tightening on Cuba. And you know, Donald Trump is the one that he's very much in favor of what Israel is doing in Gaza right now. So I don't know. It's very difficult, like I say, to tell who the good guys are, who the bad guys are. You know, and you can't put labels on them. One is left and one is right. Thought somebody was just coming by here. And I guess for Donald Trump, it depends on who his donors are. I don't know if he would really want to be doing this stuff himself. I think he's more interested in economics, but you know, like I say, with all these politicians, I guess it depends on who their donors are, and they get a big sum of money, and then they have to kind of do things the way their donors want, or else they won't have any donors, you know. Another report I was going to say, this is very interesting. The United States did an investigation of what's going on in Gaza. And this was just a couple days ago. I think it might have been even yesterday. And they said that they don't see any war crime violations by Israel in the Gaza. You know, not the use of white phosphorus. I thought that was a war crime. I guess it's not. I guess you can rain white phosphorus onto innocent civilians, and I guess that's okay. Bombing schools, I guess that's okay. They allegedly, even though nobody's been able to prove it, they say that there are tunnels underneath there of Hamas, and bombing hospitals, you know, and then killing babies and children, lots of them. So hundreds, I don't know how many now. I think I saw the numbers, but I didn't write it down. And of course the United States is saying, Joe Biden is saying, no reoccupation of Gaza, you know, but I don't know, I've never seen that Israel has ever obeyed anything that the United States says. Maybe sometimes behind closed doors when there's some sort of a threat of, you know, blocking all the money, but then again, there's not just one person that allocates this money to Israel, it's the Congress. And that's not going to be a very easy thing to get all those Congress members who are all in favor of what's going on in Israel. So it's not going to happen. Israel is going to do what Israel wants to do, and Israel has always done what Israel wants to do. So they're going to continue doing this to Gaza. And of course, Israel has said, well, we're going to keep bombing until you let all the hostages go. But I've stated already before, if Hamas releases the hostages, that's when the bombing is really going to start, because then they're going to believe that they can't possibly harm any of these hostages. So that's when it's really going to start. Hamas isn't probably as dumb as a lot of people say they are. And of course, Hamas could come up and say, well, if you stop bombing us, we'll release the hostages, which I'm sure they've done. But apparently Israel doesn't want that. And who has a better track record of keeping their word, Hamas or Israel? That's not a very difficult one. You all know who that is. George Soros' son, Alexander, he went to Ukraine and was photographed there hugging and kissing. Well, he wasn't kissing, but he was hugging this guy named Yermak, who is, I guess, now the chief aide of Zelensky. I thought it was Podolyak. I don't know what happened to Podolyak. I haven't heard from Podolyak for quite some time. But I thought he was a big aide of, you know, it's, you know, you can't keep track of all these Nazis, you know, because this guy's a Nazi too. It makes you really wonder. So, well, the Soros family, they're not Jewish. And a lot of people, like I said in other videos, you know, they say, Soros is a Jew. And I don't know, I guess that's supposed to be an insult, but but he's not. Soros says out of his own mouth, George Soros, presuming his son is the same, they said that they are atheist. So, and Soros used to turn in, when he was a boy, a young boy, and in Hungary, he used to turn in fellow Jews to the Nazis. So he actually worked for the Nazis. So it isn't odd when you hear that these guys are hugging and kissing, you know, together. You know, one Nazi to the next or something. Not very difficult. And also, well, anyway, I should add that that Yermak, of course, was asking for $1 billion from Alexander Soros. Who knows? He might just get it. He might be getting it, probably in secret. You know how these people, they don't have to disclose on what kind of money they're giving. So, and also in the past week, there were 4,200 known protests against this violence in what's going on in Gaza. 4,200, and they said 90% of these were pro-Palestinian. Okay. On Mike Jones' channel, I have another piece of information towards the end about Mike Jones again. A lot of people like Mike Jones. I like Mike Jones, and want to, you know, he's done me a favor, so I'll do him a favor. Of course, it's the least I could do. He's a very good person, very good humanitarian person. They made a documentary about him, as I said in the last video, in Russia. Very well done, I believe. I still haven't seen it, and you know, he's still doing a lot of charity work for Donetsk and all those people down there. So, but anyway, let's get back to this. His Telegram channel, he had information that the Ukrainian General Zaluzhny has been detained by Zelensky. So I think I've seen that in some other place as well since Mike Jones put that out. That's just for your own information. I don't know. If he was, and you hear about Zaluzhny running around, maybe they detained him, questioned him, and then let him go, because Zaluzhny came out and said something like a taboo that Ukraine was losing this war. And of course, that's not allowed. You're supposed to say that they're winning, even if they're losing. I don't know. That's how it is. Olena Zelensky. Now, this one is a shocking one. I'm not sure where I saw this one. But there's a Olena Zelensky Foundation. That's a wife of the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. Anyway, her foundation has been accused of, with evidence, I have to say, by a French investigative reporter named Robert Schmidt, probably moved from Germany. It sounds like a German name, Robert Schmidt. But she's accused of being, not her, but her organization is being accused of being involved with underage child trafficking. And like I said, with evidence, with documentation and witnesses. So, under the guise of evacuations, like I've mentioned this already in some other videos, and of course, if you saw that, what was the name of that movie by an associate of Mel Gibson? Anyway, child trafficking is big. It's really big in Ukraine. You know, organ trafficking, drug, anything to do anything that's illegal, anything that's the worst possible thing you can ever think of. Drugs and organs illegally, like stealing them from people. And child trafficking, anything nasty. Oh, look at this old house, an old car, old Lada, 1300 says there. So, and of course, it's, I think, into the thousands of children. And I think I mentioned two videos ago, they were evacuating children. They said families, but they were evacuating, well, they said people. But what they meant was they were evacuating children from Kharkov, separating them from their parents. And if the parents did not consent to being separated from their children, so the parents had to stay back and supposedly maybe fight the Russians or whatever, and the children were taken who knows where. And if you protested, not only do they take your children, that they say you have no rights to those children anymore. So if they even were found, supposedly, under that same administration, you're not going to get your children back. So that's terrible. Hundreds of children just in the Kharkov area, and of course over the entirety of Ukraine, and over the last year and a half or so, thousands of children just taken. And that's one reason why Vladimir Putin, and of course even with help from Lukashenko, from the president of this country, that's why they were evacuating children. A lot of time they took them to Moscow, and with their families, by the way, and getting them into safety. And for that, Vladimir Putin was found to be a war criminal. You know, oh, there's nothing against the Ukrainians who actually are doing that stuff. Terrible stuff, but no. Yeah, well, you guys know how the world works. Yes, it was. That was divulged from Olena Zelensky's foundation by a whistleblower, a former employee. And of course, she brought the evidence with her. She brought documentation. Corporate media silence on that. Isn't that incredible? Nothing's going to be said about that. Ukraine is intensifying the attacks on the civilian targets in Donetsk, and Russia called a United Nations Security Council emergency meeting on that. And I haven't heard. That was just apparently supposed to have happened today, or was it yesterday? Anyway, I haven't heard anything about that yet. I believe Sergei Lavrov had come out with some statements, and I don't know if anything was mentioned about that. And of course, nothing's going to be done anyway. You know who the powers are. The U.S. House of Representatives, this is really a doozy here. They passed legislation allowing Joe Biden to confiscate, in other words, to steal Russia's money, their assets, and give them to Ukraine. So steal the money and give it to Ukraine. And Lavrov and others have responded that there will be repercussions about that. Look at this. Here's a nice house over here. I have to show that to you. A nice fence they put around here too. Wow, thick wood siding. That's real wood, not fake plastic stuff. I would kind of fix up those steps a little bit more. Let me get a little closer. You can see it a little bit better. And forget that this is a wide-angle lens. As you see, I'm kind of in a strange area of Minsk here. A lot of old houses. Hope I can find my way out. Zelensky has put out that the counteroffensive will continue. Since it has cost so many Ukrainian lives, more women are going to be mobilized as well. And of course, as you know, the average age, I think, is 43 of the Ukrainian soldiers now. And you got to consider, you know, that's because they put people over 60 years old. And I believe now they're looking at 16-year-olds to be mobilized. 16 years old. Remember, you graduate from high school at 18, and normally that's the earliest you can go into the military when you're in the United States. But look at this. They're considering 16. I think they even have 16-year-olds in the Ukrainian military. Yeah. What kind of apples are these? I don't know. I don't know if you can even see them. Look at little, like crab apples or something. Here we have November and they're still hanging on the tree. And there's been a lot of voices now coming out, independent people coming out and saying that the reason for this mobilization and these mobilizations, even what's going on in Gaza, that this is for the purpose of depopulation. And of course, that has to be part of it. A lot of these super elites are really happy about what's going on now. I remember even hearing just some years ago that they were disappointed that there hadn't been any major wars lately in the world to kill off a whole bunch of the population. So now they've got it. I was also hearing that that's one reason for, you know, this kind of stuff. When we had this sickness that you know, that's happened in late 2019 all the way up until just before the Ukraine thing broke out. So reduce the population. Great, huh? Of course, they want to get rid of the undesirables first. And little do the Ukrainians know that they're on that list. Arabs are on that list. Of course, the Russians are Slavs. Of course, the whole idea is to get rid of Slavs. Look at, here's a renovation happening. I see that there's some brickwork done on a pillar up on the top side. Wow. Incredible. Looks like they've taken down most of the house and rebuilt quite a bit of it. Interesting. So, I don't know, a lot of nice old houses here. There's one kind of similar right over here. Let me show it to you. Looks kind of similar. Maybe built by the same builders. So anyway, like I said, you know, obviously get rid of the undesirables, and we already know they're the Russians. They're considered the undesirables, and they have even come right out and said that. Even the Ukrainians. I'm not talking all about the Ukrainian people necessarily, but just some of these elites, and maybe those that go along with the elites. You know how these people that can't think for themselves, so the government does their thinking for them. The government tells them, you hate Russians, so then they say, we hate Russians. And all your problems are because of the Russians. And of course the Ukrainians have had that drilled into them since childhood. That's been more than a generation. But I think I have that more in my notes later. If I don't, then you just heard it now. So, yeah. And Tucker Carlson, he interviewed Glenn Greenwald, who said that the West sees Ukrainians as expendable. That's what I was just saying. Maybe this is where I put that in here. And of course, many Western politicians have said this anyway. They've come right out and said it. You know, the Baltic states, people in Poland. Look at Lindsey Graham. That wouldn't make him... Well, Lindsey Graham, I think he hates just about everybody. Anybody that he could possibly get a war against, he wants them dead. He just loves this stuff. Makes you really wonder what's in this guy's head here. And as I said, the Ukrainians, they've been indoctrinated into believing this, and this goes way back. You know, mostly in the area of Lvov is where that was started, and that was even way back at the time of the Nazis. And of course, it's stayed there the whole time, and the United States, of course, was, how do I say that, fanning the flames and making it grow, and then they started using this, especially like around 2014. And of course, this is all spread into the Baltic states and Poland, and even back into Germany again. So you have this Nazism. It's just, instead of the Jews, it's the Russians. So the Russians are the Untermenschen. They have to be exterminated. And of course, the Palestinians. And who's going to be after that? The Turks. I don't know. Till they come for you, buddy. You know? I should have said, I wrote it down here. It's the line I was going to use, that it's not that the Ukrainians are expendable. They are, they want to wipe them out. Again, here we're going right back again to population reduction. Yeah, and isn't it weird? They try to make you think that you are superior, and then while you're having your eyes closed and believing this, they're actually exterminating you at the same time. You know, it makes you wonder what would happen if somebody wakes up the Ukrainians and lets them realize that, hey, you know, they're killing you off while they're telling you that you're the master race. You know, and the Ukrainians, they even have that in their textbooks. They teach the little children that, you know, like I told you. And that's another thing that Mike Jones has put out. He showed that when they went a lot of the Russians went into places, and they see the children's textbooks. It's written all over in the textbooks, that the Russians are inferior beings, and that the Ukrainians are the top of the line in the world. That they have they dug the Black Sea with their bare hands, and they actually built the pyramids. The Ukrainians. It wasn't the Egyptians. Yeah, I tell you, incredible. I don't even need to speak about that more. I've spoken about that before. Look at this nice kind of area. It makes me think I'm in some little village in the countryside. This is part of Minsk, right in Minsk. Look at, you see some big skyscrapers over there. Somebody is rebuilding something here. I don't know if that's going to be a house, aluminum siding. So, I'll tell you what, a lot of these houses are not very expensive at all. I'll even tell you that you can buy a house in Minsk, and then of course you get the land and all, and it costs less than an apartment. That's a big difference between the United States and Belarus. Houses are much cheaper normally. Of course, when you get a nice big house, been fully renovated and everything like that, that's a little bit different. But the reason for this is because you are responsible then for your own heating. So you have to buy your own heating system. When your roof leaks, you've got to fix it. And it's different in these apartment buildings. I think it's to a large extent, they have these little companies, but they're connected to the government. So the government is responsible, so to speak, in doing all the repairs so that your roof doesn't leak, that your heating system works, and you don't have to do necessarily the plumbing, maybe within your apartment, of course, but anywhere outside of your apartment, on the stairwell, anything like that. And the stairwells, as you'll notice, if I ever film inside, they're kind of like, not so nice. I don't really know why that is, but that's the one thing. So you walk up a stairwell that looks like kind of like, this doesn't look very nice. And then the apartments a lot of times are very nice, very cozy. So it just depends on who the people are that have the apartment, I suppose, and how old it is. A lot of time, elderly people, looks really old, but that can be the case anywhere. Like when you go into some place, smells like old people in here. So, yes, but anyway, the indoctrination. You remember back at the early time of this, I don't know how many years ago that was, but remember when they had them all jumping? If you're not jumping, you must be a Russian. And, just a huge amount of, like I said, indoctrination, what they do to the Ukrainian people. But that was a little bit more, for the rest of Ukraine, a little bit more fast forward. Of course, they were doing that in Lvov for more than a generation, telling those people, all the problems in the world are caused by the Russians, especially your problems. And it's incredible. So, the humanitarian problem in Gaza, I saw that too. I'm just kind of sticking this in right in, out of order. You see some film footage and things of children dying of dehydration. People can't get water, they can't get any food. It's getting bad. Some people are just on the verge now of dying from starvation. Already lack of medication is killing people, and dehydration. There's a cat, I don't know if you can see it. Orange and gray, I haven't seen that combination. They all look different, these kitties. Again, there is even more reports, and like what I was telling you before about these, what happened on the 7th of October, that all these, well, who knows how many people were actually killed. I don't know if the numbers were inflated necessarily. I'm sure they probably were, but that it was supposed to be Hamas that killed 1,400 people, but it turns out that at least the vast majority were killed by Israelis. And those people, the deaths are most all of them are soldiers and radical settlers, radical armed settlers, and not innocent civilians. So, and from what civilians were killed, very good chance that all of them, if not most of them, were killed by the Israelis themselves. So, And there are eyewitnesses that saying that. So there's just too many reports, and it's already been coming out. But of course, they're trying to quash this all in the media, and you're not hearing that. Mike Jones, like I said, he put that out. Haaretz newspaper put that out. Max Blumenthal from the Gray Zone, he put that out. And other publications are now talking about that also in Israel. But of course, it's been kept out of the corporate media. You know, so you're supposed to believe that Hamas are these brutal killers. They are not for education and things like that. They are not protesters and things. They are brutal killers. You know, I don't know if they ever were, but at least that's what they're trying to tell us. I'm not going to make any judgment. I don't live there, so I'm not certain on any of this stuff. Sometimes you can tell what the truth is, and it's pretty obvious that what the truth is that a lot of these people were killed by Israeli soldiers. So, and while all eyes are on Gaza, the World Economic Forum and Bill Gates have released that the next event will be a big push for the digital ID and ways to monitor everyone. And they're calling it the Digital Public Infrastructure, which is the DPI, not dots per square inch, the DPI, the Digital Public Infrastructure. It includes digital payment system, vaccine status. Well, how? And Bill Gates? That makes sense, doesn't it? Vaccine status. And probably also social credit scores. And they want at least to have 50 countries to have enacted this by the year 2028. You know, that's getting kind of close to the year 2030 now, isn't it? And the the UN, they said they want all of this to happen. Maybe they want this to be enacted globally by the year 2030. And this is all being enacted by something called the United Nations Development Program, and it's in collaboration with the Rockefeller Foundation, Bill Gates. I guess I don't know if he's not with Melinda anymore. As a matter of fact, they wrote the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, but I don't know if that's what it's called anymore. Just say Bill Gates. And one of the things, which is also very shocking, and of course they just sneak it in there, is to reclaim the internet. Isn't that something? In other words, they're going to be controlling the information. And I believe this was, did I miss something here? By the year 2028, they want this. We have now, it's going to be 2024, so in like 4 years. Jeez. Talk about getting frightening on that. You know, that means I'll be gone. I'll be out of a job. Oh, I don't have a job anymore. And Peter Schiff, he put out some information that the U.S. debt, and they had these charts coming out. You guys can look around and you can see these charts. It's really shocking. The U.S. debt is really going up fast. And he said that by the year 2025, you know, we're just talking 2 years from now, he said it will probably be, by October, $40 trillion. I think right now we have a little over 33 trillion, and I believe half of, I don't know, just huge amounts of money have just been, the debt has, you know, been including huge amounts of money just in 1 month. What was it, 500 billion or something? If that's right, that sounds like it's too hard to believe, isn't it? Let's see where. Also, Mike Jones put out, so I told you I'd have something else from Mike Jones here. And here it was. Because I like I said, I go through a lot of this stuff, and I do it in chronologically when people put it up most of the time, instead of me doing it as I should, which is, you know, cut and paste or something like that, and putting everything on, you know, to, what is it, Alex Christoforos says, segue into the next topic or something. But he posted this link from a psychiatrist, a former psychiatrist of Benjamin Netanyahu. And the guy's name was Moshe Yatum. And you can look it up, I guess, on your own, because you'll find this. And it was actually an article from 2010. But Moshe, M-O-S-H-E, Yatum, Yatom. And he committed suicide. And in his suicide note, he basically said it was because of Benjamin Netanyahu. He apparently lost his belief in I don't know, in humanity or something like that. You should read what he said. You know, it's a quote, and it's like so shocking that he couldn't believe that there is such a person. I only put, you know, a little bit of a reference here. I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, he lost hope in humanity. He said that Freud, you know, in all of his psychoanalyst stuff, he had never met anybody like Netanyahu. He said Netanyahu would tell you what this is what the psychiatrist said. Netanyahu would say that Gandhi invented brass knuckles. In other words, that I think he's trying to say that all of these people that we look at as being great and very kind and humanitarian people in history were brutal and maybe killers or something like that. I don't know. I believe that's what his impression of Benjamin Netanyahu's attitude is. So, also, Russia. As you know, they're developing a huge hub of liquid natural gas in the Arctic, and the USA is trying to sabotage it. This is LNG. The Russian company is Novatek, Novatek, and a quote from one of the US people, the guy's name was Jeffrey Pyatt, who's part of this group that is out to destroy this thing. He said, "Our objective is to kill the project," but yeah, they want to destroy it. And I have heard somewhere that they even want to use sabotage. That sounds kind of familiar. I heard of some kind of gas pipeline that somebody sabotaged in the North Sea. You know, it was a Nord Stream pipeline. So I wonder who did that. But anyhow, you got the point on that one. What else do I have here that I didn't tell you? Well, I'm getting close to the end here. Matter of fact, I think I am at the end. So if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, because this is such great information. And again, I'll tell you that hopefully we can start doing this stuff from the live stream very soon. I'm thinking that by sometime next week, we'll be ready to do this. Because, like I said, there was a few delays going on right now. A death for one thing, and then there was some paperwork needed to get done for something else, and there was a holiday here, so that delayed things by a few days. Otherwise, we would have been setting things up to a large extent today, and then to be starting at the very latest at the beginning of next week. So we'll see what happens then. You never know, Murphy's Law, something comes in all the time and says, hey, wait, not so fast. How many times has that happened? It's happened to me so many times since I got here. But you guys all know how that works out. Look at this. I don't know if that's a wood structure or not. It looks like it's wood. So, well, that's about it. And I appreciate you joining me. And I hope this isn't going to be too long. I don't really check to see how long my videos are, so I just try to put out as much information as I can, depending on how much time I have available. And today I had a lot of time, so I talk my jaws till they're sore. Okay, people. Well, weekend's coming, and I hope you all have a good weekend. I don't know if I'm going to be doing one on Sunday, another video, possibly. And if I don't, anyway, I'm sure I will. But until the next time, thanks for joining me, and bye-bye.